السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dr. Nidal As-Salhi, University of Petra. Today, in this lecture, we will start with Chapter 7, and as you can see, Chapter 7 titled Strategy Formulation, Corporate Strategy. And Chapter 6, if you remember, the title was Strategy Formulation also, but it was Business Strategy. Next chapter, Chapter 8, will be also strategy formulation, but we will take the third level, which is the functional level strategy. So we are now in the still in the second stage, which is the strategy formulation. Just to remind you very fast, we started the environmental scanning in Chapter 4 and 5, external and internal, and when we went to Chapter 6, it was the second stage, which is the strategy formulation. Strategy formulation as a stage, it will take 3 chapters, 6, 7, and Chapter 8. So let's start with the corporate level strategy in formulating our strategy. This is the learning objectives. You can use this at the end of the lecture in order to evaluate yourself if you have learned and understand those learning outcomes or learning objectives. So let's start with the definition of corporate strategy. When we say corporate strategy, we are talking about the strategic alternatives available for the top management in order to take decision which strategic alternative they are going to use in, of course, in the coming period, especially if it's long term. When we speak of strategy, it's a long term planning, so top management will decide which alternative strategy to use. Now, in this area, there are key issues facing the corporation as a whole. Again, I will repeat, this is the responsibility of top management. The first issue is directional strategy, and the second issue is portfolio analysis. So this chapter, by the way, it will be as 2 parts, but of course the first part, which is the most important, it will be directional strategy. We will discuss it, and by the way, we cannot finish the directional strategy in this video. We will continue, of course, next lecture. Then after that, at the end, we have a short material for the second part, which is portfolio analysis. In general, directional strategy are 3 strategies: main strategies, growth strategies, stability strategies, and retrenchment strategies. In the portfolio analysis, we will talk about it at the time. We mean to say the industry analysis, when we analyze the market or the industry that the company is working in. Let's start with, or take a look, let's say an overview of the corporate directional strategies, which is the first part. The directional strategies, as you can see, are 3. Growth strategies, and it is 2 main growth strategies. There are 2 main, the first one is concentration strategies, vertical and horizontal growth, and the second main growth strategy is diversification. It could be concentric or conglomerate. Of course, we will discuss all of this in detail, so I'm just showing you. The second directional strategy is stability strategy. Under the stability strategies, we will discuss push or proceed with caution strategy, no change strategy, and profit strategy. And the third directional strategy is the retrenchment. Under this, we will discuss later on the turnaround strategy, captive company strategy, sell out or divestment strategy, and bankruptcy or what we call liquidation strategy. So let's start with the first one, which is the growth strategies. Growth strategies, we will start, or before we start with the growth strategies, we have here a general definition for each directional strategy. When we say growth strategy, that means that the company want to grow, to expand the company activities. But when we say stability, it means that the company is after what? After, or their objective at this time is to make no change, to stay as we are, okay? We will not expand or we will not reduce anything. Now, retrenchment strategies in general, it is about reducing the company's level of activities. This is the general definition of the three of them, but of course now we will discuss them in details, and today we will be able, in this lecture, we will be able to finish only the growth strategies. Let's start with the growth strategies. What is growth strategies? You as a company, sometimes you want to expand your activities. You want to grow. You want, now your growing could be internally or could be externally. Now, internal growing, it's both. You can expand your operations either globally or domestically. At the end, it's a growth, okay? Or it can be externally through, and when we say externally, through mergers and acquisition. What is merger? Merger, when two companies, okay, two or more corporations involve in a transaction in which both companies exchange stock in order to create one new corporation. For example, two companies, they agree to merge. Company A, if it will merge with company B, then the outcome will be one company, which is C. So C, combining the two companies together. Example, Sony Ericsson, for example. As you can see, Sony is a company. It was a company, separated one. Ericsson, it was also separated company. They make a merging. They merge together. Okay, they were company A, company B. They merge together and they come up with one company, which is C. Now, what is acquisition? Acquisition is different from merging. Acquisition is buying a company. 100% purchase of another company. You buy the company, it will be under your umbrella, okay, sometimes in the same name because it has an image or brand name, so that you want also to, let's say, increase your profitability and profit growth. Now, there are in the growth strategies, as I told you, our lecture today will be only for the growth strategies, the first directional strategy. The two basic growth strategies are concentration and diversification. Now, concentration strategies, and we will see it now on the current product. That means that I want to expand my activities, but within the same product lines, okay, and the same industry. I will not go to a new industry or new product. Where in diversification, as we will see later on, it means that I want to diversify. In addition to my current product lines or my products, I want also to expand my operations to other product lines or other industries. Let's discuss them in more details and try to understand those two basic growth strategies deeply. Now, when we say vertical growth, what does it mean? Vertical growth achieved by taking over a function previously provided by a supplier or distributor. Please, I want you to concentrate with me. We will talk about two things in the growth strategies: supplier and distributor. Now, if we want to vertically grow, then we have to overtake. Okay, to overtake means, for example, if you supply yourself by yourself with the raw material, then you are doing a vertical growth. Or if you own the distribution channels and you don't have any brokers, then you have a vertical growth. I want you to understand this sentence only, please, even though that we will talk about it later on, but I want you to understand it now, at this moment. When we supply ourselves by ourselves, we call it a backward vertical integration strategy. But if we control the distribution channels or the sales centers, then we call it a forward integration or vertical integration strategy or vertical growth. Now, let's see the relationship when we speak of vertical growth results in a vertical integration. So, what is vertical integration? The degree to which a firm operates vertically in multiple locations on an industry value chain from two things. Again, extracting raw material, and this is this is of course related to supplier, to manufacture, or to retail. Retailing is related to the distribution channel. Please remember them. Okay, when you vertically integrate your strategy, then you are either supplying yourself by the raw material, then you are talking about a backward. This is a backward integration, and this is retailing, which means controlling the distribution channels, which means a forward integration strategy. We will also see them here in a clear way. Backward integration, assuming a function previously provided by suppliers. So, going backward on an industry value chain. For example, McDonald's. McDonald's, they are using a backward vertical integration strategy. Why? Because McDonald's, they don't buy their raw materials. Okay, they don't have suppliers. I mean, they supply themselves by themselves. That's why we said that McDonald's have a backward vertical integration strategy. They have farms, okay, for their cows. They have farms for the potato, tomato, and everything. So they supply. They don't buy any raw materials from anybody. That's why they have the backward integration. Forward integration, it's not related, as we said, to suppliers. It's related to distribution channels. Now, some companies also, they don't want somebody to distribute their products or services. They do it the same. They own their, they own their distribution channel. They own their sales centers. And at this time, of course, they are going forward on an industry value chain. Now, for example, in some countries, Pepsi or Cola, they own all the distribution channels. They own it by themselves. They manage it by themselves. They don't use brokers, let's say, or other agents. They do it by themselves. So we can say that they are forward. They have a forward integration strategy. Now, vertical integration. Still, we are in the vertical integration. Now, there is something that I want you to understand the concept: transaction cost economies. Now, if for example, you are buying your raw material now, and somebody is doing the raw material from you, suppliers, I mean, then you want to change, you want to go backward. Vertical integration strategy means you don't want outsourcing, as you can see here, anymore. I want to make my own raw material. I want to supply myself by myself. Then you need a transaction cost. We call it economies, which means that you have to be ready, okay, that always any vertical integration, either backward or forward, is more efficient than contracting or outsourcing. Yani it will be cheaper for you to supply yourself by yourself instead of paying more for the others to do it for you. Okay, now vertical integration continuum. The vertical integration, it has degrees, درجات, and sometimes it's not really a full integration. It's not a full backward integration strategy or a full forward integration strategy. That's why we can say that the value chain, okay, the ownership of the value chain, need to make and sell a product with no ownership at all. It means that, according to Harrigan, proposes that a company's degree of vertical integration can range from total ownership to no ownership. Let's see the types of vertical integration. Now, as you can see, that's why we call it a continuum, vertical integration continuum. Here, in full integration, it means total ownership. Now, until, of course, it will be less, a little bit less, until you will reach the long-term contract, which means no ownership at all. It means that you are outsourcing your, let's say, supplies, or outsourcing your distribution channels. Let's discuss these four types again. I want you to know that it will start from full or total ownership until the long-term contract, which is no longer or you don't have any ownership. Let's start with the first one. Full integration. It's clear. A firm internally makes 100% of its key supplies. I am fully integrated. I don't buy any supplies. I am producing all of my raw materials and I am using it in my company. I don't really, or at the same time, and this is of course when we talk about supplies, backward. When we talk about distributors, I own my distribution channels, then this is also a full forward integration strategy. So it could be a backward or a forward. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is with less degree than the full integration. I am not fully integrated, but I am taper integration, which means, of course, it's also called concurrent sourcing, which means that the company is producing less than half of its own requirements. Yani I am producing half of my supplies and the other half I am buying it from suppliers. That's why I have a vertical integration here, but it's a partial one, a taper one. Like example here, we call it a backward taper integration if it is related to supplies, and we call it, take note here, because one day in one of my exams, students thought that it's only the taper integration is only with backward. No, this is only an example. It could be also with distribution channels. So it's either backward taper integration. If it's with distribution channels, it will be a forward taper integration. So it's two types: backward taper integration and forward taper integration. Okay, and now the quasi integration is a little bit less now. Okay, which means here the company, by the way, the company here does not produce or make any of its key supplies, but it purchases most of its requirements from a supplier, from outside supplier, that are under its partial control. So concentrate here, partial control. It means, okay, I don't have really a full integration, okay, or I am not producing any of my supplies. I'm buying it, but I am buying it from another supplier, from a supplier who I partially control. I have control over it. It could be shares, for example. It could be a sister company, or sometimes you could be a member of the board of directors, and so on. Now, also again, it could be a backward quasi integration, as an example, when it's related to supplies, but it could be a forward quasi integration if it is related to the distribution channels. Now we will come to the last one in the continuum of vertical integration, as we saw a while ago, which is the long-term contract, which means that there is no ownership at all. It means I am not producing any of my supplies. I am buying my raw materials from outside suppliers fully. That means here that I have outsourcing. Okay, that's why we said that there is no ownership here for the company, and there is no really vertical integration here for the company, because they are buying their supplies totally from the suppliers. Now, as I told you a while ago, that we have two, okay, in the growth strategies, we have a concentration strategies, as we talked about a while ago. It is horizontal growth. It could be a horizontal growth or horizontal integration. Now, horizontal growth or horizontal integration. What do we mean by that? Horizontal growth, it means in the concentration strategy, expansion of operations into other geographic locations. Okay, يعني I am serving only, let's say, the market of Amman. I will add to that the market of Irbid, the market of Zarqa, the market of Karak. I will spread to more geographical area. Then I am doing a horizontal growth. Always horizontal growth result in horizontal integration, of course. Horizontal integration, also the degree to which a firm operates in multiple geographical location. The same, that means that I am operating, as I told you, I am adding more geographical area, I'm adding more markets, okay, then, but of course in the same industry. That's why we call it concentration strategy. Yani we are expanding here to new geographical area, new markets, but very important for you to know, since it is a concentration strategies, it is in the same industry. Okay, now unlike the, of course, when we will go to the diversification strategies. Now diversification strategies is different story. I am diversifying my products, my markets, my products, but in different industry from my current industry. Now there are two types of diversification strategies. Concentric, which is related, we call it related diversification, okay, and the other one later on will be unrelated diversification. But let's start first with the concentric diversification or related diversification. It means that the company want to grow, okay, into a related industry, different industry, but this industry is related to my current industry. For example, if I am in the mobile industry, okay, then I move to then I also invest in the communication industry. Okay, I diversify my product for the telecommunication company as a telecommunication company. Then I am making diversification. I am making growth, but it is related one. Why? Because telecommunication companies are related to mobile manufacturing companies. Like for example, if Zain will, or let's say iPhone will also move or will add another industry to his own industry now, which is the telecommunication company, in addition to manufacturing mobiles, then we will say that he has a diversification, but it's a related one. And by the way, Nestle, they have also related diversification because they have a lot of products, a lot of items in different industry, but at the end it's all food. That's why we call it related industry. Even Fine, okay, Sharikat Fine, also the same, they have related diversification. Now what do we mean by the term synergy here? Synergy means the concept that two businesses, two companies will generate more profits together than they could separately. Now food court, if you go to, for example, إن شاء الله بس تنحل الأمور بالسلامة، كلكم زرتوا المولات بتشوف في food court always. There is always a food court. الفود court different restaurants, McDonald's, Popeyes, KFC, Hardee's, and so on, in the same area, all of them. They are making synergy. Why? Synergy, it means 1 + 1 is not equal to 2. I mean, in a qualitative way, it's equal to 3. It means when me and you, we join together in a business, then, okay, both of us will have more profit, like what is happening in the malls, in the food courts. Now, the other type, we said the first diversification is related diversification. Why? Because I am expanding to another industry, but it's related to my industry. But conglomerate diversification, it is unrelated diversification. It means that I am diversifying into another industry which is not related at all to my current industry in terms of the product. Management realize sometimes that the current industry is unattractive. Yani, okay, I have a name, I have a brand name, but my industry, for example, in selling electric devices, it's not really that profitable. So what I will do, it's not attractive anymore, so I will move to to what we call a diversification to another industry, of course مع المحافظة على current industry. Also, firms sometimes lack outstanding abilities or skills that it could easily transfer to related products or services in other industries. And of course, if this is the case, I will move to different industry which is unrelated industry. I want to give a very easy example here. Do you know that Mitsubishi, for of course the unrelated diversification, Mitsubishi usually started with electric devices, by the way. They were producing Vitamax, TVs, and so on. Mitsubishi. They did not start with car. Now, Mitsubishi, we can consider them conglomerate or unrelated. They have unrelated diversification. In addition, because at that time they want to expand, they want to make a growth. What they did, they used the diversification, the unrelated diversification. They move to the car manufacturing. Now, car manufacturing and electric devices manufacturing, they are not related industry. So they add. Up to now, they still have the electric devices, of course. Now they add a new industry which is not related to the current industry, because they move from the electric devices industry to the car industry. And this is very good example when it comes to diversification. Even Manasir in Jordan, he is in different industry. He is in the oil industry, okay, which is the gasoline stations and so on. He is also in the IT industry, information technology industry. And of course, this is again another example of unrelated diversification, and you can see also a lot of examples. This ends our lecture for today, for Monday 30/3 طبعا 2020. بتمنى السلامة للجميع، وبتمنى انكم دائما تراجعوا الفيديوز وتراجعوا المادة، واي سؤال ممكن any question you need you can ask the question during the class time. بنشوفكم على خير. Thank you very much.